I had the assignment to write my own obituary for a hospice class I was taking, and I had to write another one recently for a meeting. Well, recently as last year, 2019. You remember 2019, 5 years ago. And here's how I started that obituary. Lynn Shoemaker, a spinster, LOL, is survived by 3 kids, foster children, and numerous grandchildren. But wait, I'm getting way ahead of myself. I have to start with my introduction. Thus, my cards. So I remain focused. My name is Lynn Shoemaker. I am a retired nurse who works more now than I have in the past 6 years as an occasional caregiver to the elderly in their homes, and have recently joined an army of healthcare workers in the fight against COVID-19. When Becky called me about a month ago, here is how the conversation went. Sometimes Becky has called me in the past to bounce ideas off of me regarding the Rebecca Conference, as I have attended many of the previous ones. So the conversation was going smoothly, and I was nodding my head, agreeing with the good ideas that she always has. Virtual, Zoom, great. November, oh, I love November. All sounded good. Until she said, well, your name was mentioned, and perhaps you want to speak? Then I went from nodding my head yes to, Becky. So I would really like to thank Becky for that. I'm just kidding. I was honored to be asked to talk. After all, it's my favorite thing to do. So if you can bear with me reading off of my numbered index cards, I will start with the beginning of my story. Now, we don't have to go way back to 1957, but I will share a snippet of the story my mom told me of how I became a shoemaker. She said it was a warm, late summer day when the social worker from the orphanage came for their home visit. Back in the 50s, last century, there was no air conditioning, and it was very warm. And my future mom had made little tea sandwiches that the social worker refused to eat, that sat wilting on a plate. After an extensive interview, and that social worker was assured by my future mom and dad that I was so wanted and already loved by numerous aunts and uncles. My future parents had been married for 7 years and still no children. So my future mom, getting more nervous by the minute, meekly asked, "Do you want to see her room?" And the social worker replied, "I don't care if you have her sleep in a drawer from a chest bureau, as long as you have loved her." So that is how I landed into the Shoemaker family. A 3-month-old infant who, from the time I pooped my pants on the way home from the orphanage, truly to where God had wanted me to be planted and bloom, amongst aunts, uncles, cousins, and doting grandparents. When I've told that story before about the Chester drawers, people have said, "Oh, that wasn't very nice. That wasn't what the story was about. It wasn't about that I could be in a Chester drawer sleeping. It was that I needed to be loved." And that's all that social worker asked of my parents, was to love me. And they did. So in today's session, I want you to understand the meaning behind those words from that social worker. You just have to love her. And that, my friends, is the simplest, easiest command. We just have to love each other, and God will light our path. I pray that my session will give you hope, a small nudge fulfilling your dream. So now, let's really get to the beginning of my greatest accomplishment. Thanksgiving night, 1998. I am on the phone to a friend saying, I love my parents with all my heart. But I want to be more. I want to be a mom, not just a daughter. I am over 50 years old. I don't understand why I'm not married and have a family. My mother didn't understand that either. Oh, how God must have rolled his eyes at my lamenting of my woes and thought, patience, my child. Don't spend all your energy on worrying when you will become a mom. You need to store up your energy, my child. The best is yet to come. And trust me, you are going to need all the energy you can get. 3 in high school. Just saying. Focus. Well, I Googled scripture about hope. One of the 25 that popped up, speaking of energy, was one of my favorites, Isaiah 40:31. But those who renew their strength, they will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Like I said, 3 in high school. Did you know that eagles are mentioned more often than any other creature in the Bible? These impressive birds of prey are known for their great speed with impressing soaring abilities to renew their strength. I tried to Google the answer to just how an eagle renews their strength, but couldn't find an answer. So I guess when that beautiful, majestic bird soars towards the heavens, he knows from whom his strength truly comes from. October 1999, 11 months after my whining Thanksgiving night, after getting licensed in foster care, having the well water tested, making sure the dog's immunizations were current. Heck, I was even up to date in my immunizations. The phone rang. Would you be interested in opening up your home and heart to 3 siblings aged 3, 5, and 7? Now remember, I had spent years thinking of names for babies, infants. I love the name Lily, Liliana. They wanted me to take 3 children. Where was my baby? Where I wanted an infant. I already had a 14-year-old foster child and his German Shepherd Husky mix, 65-pound puppy living with me, and I was working midnights full time. I replied in astonishment, "What do you think I am? Crazy or something? 3?" Well, I showed them. So, on a warm October night, I stood by myself. Well, not by myself. God was there. In a cold, gray hallway with a social worker as another social worker led 3 little ones scrambling up a staircase. And all I could hear was a flutter of noise as they all tried to get to that door first. After the introductions and we sat in the social worker's office for a few minutes, I took that 3-year-old's hand and the other 2 siblings ran down the steps to my car, and our life and mine began. There's a picture somewhere of me 5 days later with those 3 little souls standing in front of the church where I was baptized in October 1957, so many, many years ago, in the United Methodist Church. Those kids were raised in that church with God as their father. I remember a few weeks later, I was at a Shoemaker holiday gathering, and my girl cousins were dying I was doing this alone. They all had children and husbands. I remember the one question I asked those cousins and a couple aunts standing over turkey. We were in the kitchen. And the one question I wanted to ask was, how do I get grass stains out of their clothes? Laugh out loud. Funny how that was what I was worried about. In all fairness, I hadn't done the math to realize all three would be in high school one day. So many memories, so quickly they flew by. Baptism, confirmation, Little League games, Grandma, Grandpa, church on Sunday mornings, vacation Bible school every summer. Carlos helped teach even after he was grown. Jessica worked the nursery for years. Carlos has sang and participated in our faith band for special occasions at church. The last time Carlos sang at church was last year, 2019, 5 years ago, and the song had these lyrics. Give me faith like Daniel in the lion's den. Give me hope like Moses in the wilderness. And that's what my prayer is for you. If you're the person that really needs to hear this, I do wish you faith like Daniel in the lion's den and hope like Moses in the wilderness. God's calling. You just have to listen. And Robert, he'll marry in that church he grew up in early next summer. And this past month, October, the last Sunday, the foster kids, who isn't a kid anymore, his babies, age 4 and 8, attended our trunk or treat at that church. More memories of swimming, camping, spring break vacations, Saturday, Casey's pizza for breakfast, for the masses that stayed over on Friday nights. Now I have to clarify, Casey's has a breakfast pizza. It wasn't leftover pizza. It was a breakfast pizza. A pool table that replaced an antique dining room set, Christmas Eve services, a brownie vest that I glued on all those patches because I didn't know how to sew, and her award ceremony was the next day. Jess does know how to sew now, so that little brownie, she made masks this past spring with her own sewing machine. I remember people would always say to me, oh, those kids, they are so lucky to have you. To which I wanted to whisper, oh, they weren't the lucky ones. I was. So now we have to fast forward. Those babies are now 24, 26, and 28. I don't know where the time went. I blinked. And they all have great jobs that they love. They have better cars than me. And I think they have more money too. And all through the years, my one prayer, and I think that was answered, that they have good health, that they get home safely to their loved ones, that they find love, which they have, and that they always have a grateful heart. So I just want you to know that our lives happen in God's timing, always in His plan. I encourage whatever is your heart's desire, Go after it. If it is planted in your heart, it was planted for a reason. God will lead the way. You just have to have faith. Please know there were obstacles and heartbreak as God led me to my family, but I never gave up, and neither did God. And still, like I said, 3 in high school, there were problems. We weren't perfect. We're still not perfect. But I'll never give up, and neither does God. Looking back, God took such good care of that little family of mine. A good paying day job with weekends off. I had been on midnights and had to travel. A beautiful house that was just within my reach that the bank said I qualified. Now, I don't know how else I can explain that I was able to buy an expensive house that was just thousands, like very small amount over what I could afford, all in God's plan. A church family that adored those babies and still do. Always the right coach, whether Little League, wrestling, or tennis, for the kids. Time after time, blessing after blessing. I was blessed a week or so into November, a phone call from my cousin saying her work organization wanted to adopt our family for Christmas. Check. I didn't even have to worry about Christmas presents 6 weeks after I became a mom. Everything going as God planned. So if you have it in your heart, I cannot emphasize it enough. I had help from above once I gave it to God. I even had a babysitter who let them sleep over at her daycare place when I worked midnights. You just have to take the leap. God is waiting to answer your prayers. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. And what a hope I was given. If I, a single 42-year-old woman, can adopt 3 siblings and years later pick up the phone and hear, "Hi, Grandma Kaylin," I can assure you God will move you along in your quest. You just have to put one foot in front of the other. Dream big, because I also don't have to tell you just how big our God is. There is a new Christian song by Josh Baldwin with lyrics stating, I see the promises of fulfillment. I see the evidence of the goodness of God all over my life. My prayer for you is that your heart and mind be open, and God will give you your answers. And looking back, as I am doing today, I hope and pray that you see the promises of fulfillment that were fulfilled in your life and the goodness that God has showered upon you in your life. Matthew 7:17. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks, receives. For he who seeks, finds. And to him who knocks at the door will be opened. Oh, and oh, those kids, they are so good to me. Adults, even though I don't want to admit it, that call their mama every chance they get just to say hello. My daughter faithfully calls me at 7:20 every morning on her way to work. Sometimes, rarely, I even get to give a little advice that they've listened to. Yes, we truly are best friends, And once again, this Thanksgiving, as we bow our heads to give thanks, I again will look around that crowded table and smile, wondering, what did I ever do to deserve so much? Recently, a good friend of mine, after cleaning out some old boxes, like we all have in 2020, come to find out it really wasn't if I had the time I would clean my house, because I've had all year and I haven't cleaned my house. Anyway, my friend came across some old yearbooks and a couple of playbills that I had wrote on. We had a few laughs at what I had wrote, and I noticed how each note was signed with P.S. I'd write something, then P.S., P.S., I'd have more to say. Maybe I'll write a book one day, entitle it P.S., 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 because it seems like I've always got something to talk about. So my P.S., P.S., P.S. to this session will be tonight. I hope to see you. I guess I could tell you something, but I could tell you a little bit, but I can't. It's just too good. It's too good. You have to come back tonight. I want to thank you for listening to me today, and I will end with a quote from newswoman Hoda Kotb in her book on inspirational quotes. Hoda is a woman who adopted 2 baby girls much later in her life and is planning a wedding now with the man of her dreams. Here's the quote that I want you to take with you. Not too late, not too old. You're right on time. Better than you know. So I've come to the end of my index cards. I'm at page 30. I'm probably the shortest time, but it is Friday and we do have a Thanksgiving to plan. No matter how social distance, I think I'll be having 2 different meals with kids. So, as I said, I've come to the end and I'm on page 30 of my index card. And this is what it says. Thank you. Again, I'll be praying for you, and I know that the person that needed to hear my session today is rethinking about taking that leap of faith. Take care. I hope to see you tonight. Thank you again.
Try to hold on to this world with everything I have, but I feel the weight of what it brings, and the hurt that tries to grab, and many trials that seem to never end. His word declares His truth, that we will enter in this rest with wonders anew. But I hold on to this hope and the promise that He brings. There will be a place with no more suffering. There will be a day with no more tears, no more pain, and no more fears. There will be a day when the burdens of this place will be no more. We'll see Jesus face to face. But until that day, we'll hold on to you always. journey seems so long, for you walking on your own, but there has never been a step where you've walked out all alone. Troubled soul, don't lose your heart. There's joy and peace he brings, and the beauty that's in store. Always heard of life's sting, but I hold on to this hope and the promise that he brings. There will be a place with no more suffering. There will be days with no more tears, no more pain, no more fears. There will be days when the burdens of this place will be no more. We'll see Jesus face to face. But until that day, we'll hold on to always. Oh, I can't wait until that day when the very one I've lived for always will wipe away the sorrow that I face. Oh, to touch the scars that rescued me from a life of shame and misery. Oh, this is why I say there will be a day with no more tears, no more pain, and no more fears. There will be a day when the burdens of this place will be no more. We'll see Jesus face to face. There will be a day with no more tears, no more pain, no more fears. There will be a day when the burdens of this place will be no more.